Hey good humans, I'm Dan Chin, director of the Jubilee-produced feature documentary, Accepted, a story that follows 4 students at the controversial T.M. Landry College Prep School and their high-stakes quest for elite college admission. We spent the last 4 years pitching, filming, editing, and finishing this film, and we can't wait to share this extraordinary story with you as told by the students who lived through it. The film comes out on July 1st in select theaters, and you can also find it available on Amazon and Apple TV. Now, enjoy the episode.
Middle Ground is a social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. Please see the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy.
My grandmother being a college professor, when she and my grandfather graduated from college and earned their master's degrees, they were literally able to take that to the bank as a down payment on a home. A college degree meant guaranteed income.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. My parents expected me to go to college.
Even though my dad didn't go to college himself, he, went through a little bit of like an associate's degree, but his main thing was a photographer. And then my mom, being from Jamaica, completely different, education being her way of getting out of that kind of environment, poverty, things like that. She always wanted me to go to school, and they both put me through private school to better prepare me for college. So they kind of started me off on the path as soon as they could.
Growing up, I actually didn't even realize there was an option to not attend college. I thought that part was mandatory, but you may or may not graduate. It was very important to my grandmother as well, being a college professor. And when she and my grandfather graduated from college and earned their master's degrees, they were literally able to take that to the bank as a down payment on a home. At the time, a college degree meant guaranteed income.
My dad was always the type of person to say, get your degree, I don't care what it's in. So I always felt a little bit of flexibility about what specifically I wanted to do. And that's why I kind of took community college as a time to try a lot of different things and see what I'm interested in and not break the bank. My name is Pam and I'm pro-college. The main thing that I feel like I missed out on by going to community college first was that I wasn't given the opportunity to pursue leadership roles in like clubs or things that I was a part of. There is a bit of a stigma with transfer students that you're not, you weren't there on campus long enough. I encountered a lot of people who would discuss feeling imposter syndrome or feeling like they weren't good enough to be at a school like UCLA, that they couldn't do as well as the people who had been there all 4 years. And I definitely felt that feeling sometimes as well.
Can the disagreeers step forward?
There was no expectation for me to go to college whatsoever. So it was really my personal decision to go. I saw a lot of poverty like in my community, in my neighborhood. And so how do I avoid this situation as an adult? There was no plan B for me. So it was like, if I don't do it, I'm going back to my hometown and I'll be working at a factory somewhere, or I can do it and, see what happens.
College's use of affirmative action is problematic.
So my personal experience with affirmative action, when I went to the PWI, I was chosen pretty much based on affirmative action. There was a lot of heavy marketing, hey, come to our school, come to our school. Affirmative action can be problematic in the sense that when these students reach campus, there is no place for them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, they have clubs, they have other people that they could reach out to, but it's more like once we get you in, you're on your own. You gotta figure out by yourself. And I also think it's being problematic when it comes to society, because now you're having a lot of white Americans saying that the only reason this person got into the school was because of this reason.
Especially private institutions, these Ivy League schools, certain types of people attend these schools. If you don't necessarily fit their standards, then once again you can be ostracized from that group. My name is Zakia and I'm pro-college. Not going to college is a privilege depending on who you are and who you know. I feel like colleges support minorities depending on where you are. For me personally, I'm from Baltimore. There were opportunities for minorities. Of course, it's a majority minority city. If I was in another state that was maybe more conservative or predominantly white, I do feel like I would not have had as many opportunities.
Meritocracy can't exist in the same place where you have nepotism and legacies and all of that. But there's always some sort of an action involved in getting people into universities. I personally know someone who attended classes at a certain Ivy League university with a future president. And he was a terrible student, but of course he got in because he was legacy and his family donated a building. So, and that's how you become president. That's America. Affirmative action is good to give people an opportunity who wouldn't otherwise have it.
I think the intention is good, and you can't speak to intention when the system looks the way it does.
We also have to factor in the aspect of finances and money and schools making money. And when we're talking about intention, yes, there might be one professor that's like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. But that doesn't speak for the entire university. That doesn't speak for the board. Is the intention to give us minorities an opportunity, or is the intention to not hear complaints?
To boost their numbers, boost their diversity levels.
Well, I actually think about it differently. I think affirmative action, definitely works against nepotism, and I feel like if it were no affirmative action, a lot of black students wouldn't be able to go to PWIs. And so I agree that, once you get there, there is a difficulty being a student of color on a predominantly white institution. With that position, it also was the other side that would say that same thing. They would say, we won't let you in because you won't be a good fit here, because you won't fit the culture. And that's the way that they would use to bar people from being able to go. And so, I won't say like it's better for them to turn us away because they don't have the resources. Like, let me get there and let me figure that out for myself versus you telling me that I won't be a good fit there. And that's what affirmative action allows. And I also will say, like, white women benefit from affirmative action more than any other minority group. It's not necessarily about, students of color specifically being allowed on campus. It's about, minorities being allowed.
A degree doesn't qualify you for most jobs.
I think where we're seeing the world currently go in terms of the job market is a lot of employers are hiring for experience. They're hiring to see, do you know what you're talking about? And that's where I think internships really come into play. And that's why a lot of college students are going for internships, is they need to go out there and get that experience so that way employers want to hire them. No employer is going to turn you down if you're like, hey, I have all of this experience, or hey, I know how to do exactly what you're hiring for, but oh, I didn't go to college for 4 years.
Having that listed as a qualification and a requirement kind of is like a gatekeeping thing more so than who's going to perform the best on the job. I'm Michelle, and I'm anti-college. I became anti-college when I graduated high school valedictorian, and I realized that continuing on with college would be a death sentence. My godmother actually gave me a book called The Education of Millionaires, and she hadn't read the book in advance, so she kind of thought it was going to encourage me to invest in college. But what the book actually did was explain the stories of a lot of people who became millionaires without a formal education.
Most companies don't take the time to read that resume. They feed it through a machine. If you talk the talk and know certain people to jimmy your way in there, you don't really need the qualifications to do the job. People who have the qualifications don't get the job.
I've been job hunting over the last couple of months. I started a spreadsheet where I was putting how many of them are asking for X amount of years of experience. Almost all of them were college degree needed. I still even got maybe 3 or 4 for every 40 that I applied to.
I'm originally from Miami, and I used to work for the county, and I used to work for social events. And now that I've moved here, it's really hard for me to transition towards the same field because I tell people, hey, look, I used to run football tournaments. I used to host food drives. But because I don't have a degree in marketing or in event coordination, people, like you said, when I put on Indeed, they say, hey, you need a degree to get in. But because I don't have that degree, I'm not even allowed in the door. My name is Kenny, and I'm pro-college. Going to college is really important to me because I've had a long line of family members who have been educators. My mom, who passed away from cancer, was a teacher. And when she came to this country, the only dream that she had for me was to go to college. In the early stages of me going to school, it felt like a very hard burden to carry. The fact that I don't know what I want to do when I go to school, but I just have to do it because it's somebody else's wishes. But eventually, when I started growing up and realizing that I have my own reasons for going to college, and I, on top of that as well, can fulfill my mom's dream, was something that really kind of pushed me towards wanting to continue my education and going to school.
All student loan debt should be forgiven.
It's crazy to me that you go for 4 years and you are paying off hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and you might actually meet all of the payments and you still have like double to pay. A really popular payment plan that we've been seeing, Purdue University started doing this, it's called income share agreements. So instead of paying for your degree up front, if college actually helps you land that job, you start to pay a small percentage of your salary over the span of a few years. And after 5, 6, 7 years, whatever percentage you pay, great. If not, and you're not making a lot of money, then like the college actually failed you in helping you get that career that it was supposed to in the first place.
I like that. It puts accountability on the institution where it should be.
Absolutely.
Not the borrower.
It's very easy to be like, well, in like the Nordic countries, you pay $5 and you get your degree. Like, it's easy, but it's different here, and it has been, and it will be unless some big change happens. But I don't know what that is. I don't know how do we address the millennials who went through college and have racked up billions in debt, and how do we change it to make it better for our future generations too?
And I really think it should be canceled just because of the pretenses in which the loans were actually given out. I'm like, it's literally the definition of predatory lending in terms of, giving thousands of dollars to someone with no credit score. And so, when they get those loans and they don't really understand, like the interest is racking up, and then 6 months after you graduate, and whether you have a job or not, you're gonna have to start paying them back.
Why, y'all? What's going on?
My disagreement is in the way that it's handled. There's this particular scam which is widespread. People have gotten caught up in other scams, and those are not just immediately forgiven. I do understand that it's kind of like, it's a different situation because of how much pressure was placed upon you getting into this scam, even governmental pressure as well, which is why, they bear some responsibility in it.
I was a victim of one of these scams. I took a few loans out, and then my last year, I didn't have enough, and so I took a $5K loan, and that one was the worst one. Like, what held me back from stepping forward was the word all. Some people might have taken out that loan, gone to college, and now they're making tons of money that they can afford to pay it back. If somebody's capable of contributing, then why wouldn't they? I'm Daniel, and I'm anti-college. I took a lot of different classes while I was in art school, and I gained, I guess, a wider set of skills than my other brother did. The thing that felt unfair to me was that it cost the same for us to go through college, yet I got a better return on my schooling than he did, and he still has to pay the same amount that I was having to pay. If someone's unsure of their career path, is it worth them going hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt when they don't know what they're going to do with their life?
College campuses are radicalizing young people.
I hesitated at first because I was interpreting that as the universities influencing people, but I don't think that's the case. I think people who might have certain beliefs are going to college and just spreading it to their peers. So in that regard, I would say college campuses are contributing to that.
When you see a headline and you see that a college is pursuing this or it's agreeing with this, I feel like it has a lot more damage towards the story, as if the school is promoting this type of behavior. And I feel like because they notice that a lot of people are getting a lot of attention for those specific schools, it's like, okay, let's give them more incentive to do it because it's helping our name get out there.
If you're not, in these spaces where you're hearing a lot of arguments from every side, it's easy to be like, well, that doesn't apply to me, so why would I care? I think for me, at least being in a college environment, I was forced to see these things and more exposed than I would have been if I hadn't gone.
When I heard the word radical, I paused it for a second because I think it has a negative connotation just in the media. And so I feel like when you hear people say radical anything, you're okay, that sounds like something bad. I feel like it's really the education, they're learning more about the society and about the history of the government in America. And so that does sometimes make you angry and makes you want to speak out and, become an activist for a certain topic or position.
In my mind, though, it's no different than what algorithms are perpetuating on social media right now. If you're on Twitter, you're going to be following people that are within your space, and you're going to be seeing that content. And I think that's actually playing more of a role in radicalizing and doing more in the political space than what we're actually seeing at college campuses.
Me personally, I grew up in a conservative Christian household. Growing up in those environments, I feel like radicalization, it really starts at home. It starts with what your parents tell you about people. I think that when we get to college, we're in more of a free space to voice these opinions. And even on social media, there's also a level of anonymity, so people feel more comfortable sharing certain viewpoints. I feel like these things start at home and they're just pushed more to the forefront once you get a little older.
Colleges prioritize making money over providing quality education.
Oh, we all agree, how nice.
As someone who works at a college, it's a business first, and I see that firsthand. I think it really does come down to the bottom line for a lot of institutions in terms of them making money. And so they will make certain decisions in terms of, what will allow us to make more money, what makes us look better as an institute versus, necessarily the care of the student being the primary concern.
The teachers that I had at community college were no better or worse than the ones at UCLA, sometimes better. They were nicer, they were more approachable, smaller class size, more classes available in community college. When I got to UCLA, I thought, there's one class and it's only at 5 p.m. Are you kidding me? How am I supposed to make a schedule about that? So I kind of realized a lot of things when I got to UCLA that this is not exactly what I thought it would be.
The college that I graduated from, they had a heavy focus on freshmen. It was all about freshmen. Bring in more freshmen because the graduation rate is already so low. Freshmen bring in money, freshmen are there the whole year, and then if they stay, they stay. If they don't, they don't. They were changing all of the dorm buildings to freshman dorms so that only freshmen have housing.
Can you talk about the quality of dorms too?
Oh!
For the
Trash.
tens of thousands of dollars they're paying.
Terrible. Yes.
What is that? How does that make sense?
Also, when you look at public institutions and you see the salaries, 90% of the time you're going to see that the highest paid person is a college coach. And that'll show you where the actual money is going to, and it's millions of dollars more than every other person that works at the institute. My name is KC. I am pro-college. College was an opportunity for me, definitely, with the ability to lift me out of poverty. I grew up in a single-parent household, raised by my mom, and so I think that just the ability to go to college and earn a degree set me up for higher paying jobs and the ability to pay my mom's bill as well as be a better person in my community.
The college acceptance system is rigged.
So I went to one of these events that the school that I was really strong about, just to learn more about the admission process. And my mom ran into one of these acquaintances she met from back in the day, and he had put all of his children through the school. And one of the things he told us was that the school made it super competitive to get in so that their acceptance rate looks 8%. But for transfers, it's much higher. That's the way into, I would argue, most of these schools if you don't have the proper grades or maybe you can't afford it that year. There's back doors, and I'm just hearing that, I'm assuming there are more back doors.
My dream college when I was in high school was I really wanted to go to Georgia Tech. I started my college admissions process in West Virginia, and going and visiting the college counselor on Georgia Tech's campus, they were like, this is what you need to do, these are what you need to hit, this is how many APs you need to have. My junior year, my parents moved us to Tennessee, and I ended up applying to Georgia Tech from Tennessee, and I got denied. And I was heartbroken because I had met all of the stats that she had told me to meet. I ended up calling my admissions counselor at Georgia Tech because I'd developed a relationship with her. And I remember crying with her in the car and just being like, what happened? And she straight up told me that if you would have applied from West Virginia from your school, you would have gotten in. My name's Mehek, and I'm anti-college. When I first entered college, I thought that you had to have a college degree to be successful and to start your own business. And I met a bunch of people that had dropped out of college that were between the ages of 18 and 23. That was eye-opening to me because there were people that had raised millions of dollars to start their own companies and they didn't have that college background. My mom has her master's, my dad is a doctor. So for me to turn around and say, hey, I actually don't even think I need 4 years of college, I think I can actually just go out and do things on my own. It was a big cultural shock for them.
I think about college as like what we said in terms of being a business. And I feel like all businesses are rigged to make as much money as they possibly can. The institute makes more money when students are out of state and paying out of state tuition. Knowing what we know about college acceptance, what would you all want to see? Like, there's no way that every person that wants to go to a particular college can go. So it's like they have to find some way to weed people out.
I think there needs to be more transparency overall with universities. Students really need to be like aware of like what they're going to college to do, who they are looking to learn from. I think will be beneficial. Can they learn from them once they get there? I'm Kyle and I'm anti-college. If I could do it all over again, I would choose not to go to college because there have been several benchmarks that I can think of where I've progressed creatively that have happened outside of the classroom in terms of experience or things that I have learned from people working in the industry or lessons that I have discovered about myself just from sitting doing the craft that I want to do that more or less was not taught in the classes that I thought I would be taught.
We should stop telling kids that they should all go to college.
Yeah, I think some kids, if they are really excelling in the school, then yeah, that you want to encourage that one. But you know, you'll always have that kid that just has no idea what they want to do, and that person shouldn't be pressured to go. Shouldn't even be encouraged to go. They need to just figure out something. But
Or if their skills are not conducive to like
yeah,
a
exactly.
normal degree, like
Exactly.
go to trade school, learn a trade, and you'll make money. You know?
I think that we need to switch away from telling every single kid that you need to go to school, more like, hey, look, if you don't want to go to school, here are some other options.
Yeah, definitely like more career focused, more profession focused. Like especially in like some of our cases when we're expected to go to college and people don't care like what degree you have. That's a little bit of a red flag because you really need to be intentional about the choices you make.
College is no longer an indicator of future success. With the internet, with just all of this access to knowledge, you can create your own future outside of college. And I think it's really good for helping you move into career paths where like doctor, lawyer, where like you do need a higher education. I think other than that, I think it's a lot cheaper and it makes a lot more sense for people to find a trade school or to go to their local community college and just get the skills that they need to so that way they can start working.
I was gonna say, I definitely don't think that college is for everyone, but I think that most of the time when we hear conversations of people saying you should go to college, it's usually from people who did not go to college. It's like generic advice in terms of like, you should do something with your life. That's really what they're trying to tell you, and they just use college because I do think it is still an indicator of success. Like I know you said it's not, you know, statistically, you are more likely to make like $1 million more than an average high school graduate.
That's a wrap on the group discussion.